Now is the time. A time you'll look back on. A time you adopt as inspiration. You will recollect this time. This moment, right now. Motivate yourself towards success. Overcome. Take over. The time is now.
Hello. Apologies for the slight delay. My broadband just died right before the show, so hopefully we make it through. But how are you, lads? And before we even get into answering that question, we said we'd start the show at 7 o'clock. And this answers your question, Pete, because it would suit Chris that we start the show at 7 o'clock. But Chris got the offer of free food, so he abandoned us. So that's why Chris is not here.
And you know the funny thing is, lads, he's just literally put on the group chat. They went to Toby and it was rammed, and he's had to downgrade to some other shit place. So if you're watching, Chris, ha ha ha. That's what you get for ditching us for food, buddy.
I'm not even going to ask what a Toby is. I have no idea. Is that a restaurant chain?
Carvery, man.
Carvery.
Ah,
Sunday roast.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, what are we here for? I have to ask myself. So that's the question sometimes. But we're here for the reaction show on the game last night. And what a result last night. Great to get a draw. We were hoping for and praying for a bit of a miracle, and we did get it to some degree. We're getting a draw against the Gunners. But before we get into that, just spotted before we come on. Just want to say. Just to acknowledge the passing of David Gold, the British businessman and former chairman of Birmingham City until 2009, and he was the current co-chairman of West Ham. So following his death today, but our thoughts are with his family and West Ham as well. But just to acknowledge David Gold. Right. We're going to get into the show and into the game. Let's start. Great match poster. I like that picture yesterday, Martin. I know you put it in our group chat as well, and I'd seen it as well. So it's a great little kickstart. But let's get into the team and your thoughts on the team. So here was the lineup. So yeah, Wilson back in was the only change from the previous day, and Wood returning to the bench. Any surprises there, lads? I suppose the other surprise was Dubs back on the bench. Dubravka back on the bench after being recalled from Manchester United, and again Fraser not in the squad, and we know Target is injured, out for at least a month, if not longer, according to Jordan and Dom today, I think. But any thoughts on the lineup, lads?
Go on, Pete.
No, look, the only surprise for me was Dubravka. I fully expected, and I said we needed Wilson in the team. So glad to see him start. We needed Wood out the team because he wasn't offering anything against Leeds. So yeah, just Dubravka being on the bench. I don't know what that signifies, and I've been racking my brain ever since I saw that lineup as to what that means for us. But I'm sure we'll get into that. But yeah, the only surprise, Dubravka being on the bench. Good team, good lineup.
Yeah, good team. It was a good team. Martin, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, no real surprises. Like Pete said, I think we all expected Wilson to come back in after being unwell. So yeah, look, I think the strongest lineup. Eddie's not going to change it too much, and obviously, look, we know what we have on the bench. So I think strongest lineup. Why change a team that's doing well? So yeah, no, happy enough with the lineup and who ran out. Yeah, it's a good start.
Cool. Good. Yeah, I see Russ and a few more has slagging me off about my hair gel. Yeah, never ends. But right, yeah. Here's the Arsenal lineup as well. A strong squad from them, and they're on fire this season. Until they met us. But yeah, that was the last in the crowd as well. Was Garen Cole. So great to see him there. I think he probably with Mirdad and Dan Ashford there. So he's made it over from Australia, and there's talk that he will go out alone. I think I just saw a tweet of potential that Hearts are looking at him, but I'm sure there'll be a few more looking at him as well to take him on loan, because I think he got his work permit now that he can play in Britain. Yeah, so he doesn't have to go with the likes of Germany or Portugal, so he, more domestic kind of loan to be possible. So that is good. Right.
So he can't go to Germany, no? Or he can?
He can.
Yeah, I'd like to see him to go to Germany. Is his brother not there, no? Brother's in Germany, no?
Yeah.
And I think the Germans they've some real good coaching set up for the kids. So I think that would be an ideal move for him. Keep him close to the brother, maybe. So I don't know where the brother's at. Do we know where the brother's at? Where's he playing?
I think he plays for Schalke.
Yeah. So I think if it's an ideal place to send him, he's got a family and they've got some good setups over there. I think he'd do well. Germans, you look at the likes of some of them, BVB and them, they've got really good setups for the youth programs. So I think that would be an ideal move for him. Anyway.
Definitely.
Cool. Okay, let's get into the game and kind of refresh people's memories, because it's 24 hours ago since the game kicked off. Right, I kind of skim it down a bit. Right, the first 10 minutes, Arsenal were all overs. Odegaard had a shot, Saka had a shot, and even Xhaka had a shot in that first 10 minutes. So it wasn't looking pretty to start with. But yeah, we grew into the game. The next 10 minutes, we kind of got more into it. Wilson had a kind of tame shot. Shard had a header that went wide. But then we got on to the silly season, and the ref went a bit trigger happy on the card. So he gave a card to Bruno on the 26 minutes, gave a card to Wilson on the 27 minutes for a high foot. Then at 34 minutes, Gabriel had a header over from a free kick. Wilson and Joe Linton got in the box, and nothing really happened to it. Then the kind of touch of yellow cards came for Arsenal then, so it kind of leveled it up a bit in terms of the yellow cards. And I think then the ref, I think it's Sky said this as well, that the ref then kind of copped on, oh shit, where am I now? I've got all these yellow cards. I'm going to have to send someone off here. It just keeps going this way. And there weren't really yellow cards, some of them either. So not for us anyway. But yeah, I described it then as kind of our defending as controlled chaos, because we were doing a job and we were solid, but we were being a bit bombarded by Arsenal at times. Until half time on the 46th minute, Joe Linton had a bit of a kind of, I would describe it as a bit of a diving header, but he could have potentially scored from that one. That took us to half time, 0-0 at half time. Getting into the second half, 49 minutes, a ball in the box, Miggy, no one in there. After J7 ran down Ramsdale and put him under pressure for that. Newcastle did get more into it in the second half as well. Then there was another clutch of yellow cards. 56 minutes, Joe Linton got a yellow card. Was kind of actually 57 minutes, and Miggy got a card for a stupid one. Was he moving in the wall or something?
I think he's where they put the line for the wall. Basically, Miggy's feet were just over that, and the Arsenal players, as they did a lot throughout the game, just complained that he was moving forward. He just stayed where he was, but his feet need to be before the line. That's basically what it was, and then they ended up booking it from it. It was it was just a joke. It was stupid. It really was.
Yeah, it's crazy. Then a good talking point then is on the 60th minute when Byrne, there was I think it was a corner, but Byrne pulled Gabriel in the box, and he did kind of fairly pull the jersey off. We did get away with that one. No, that should have been a penalty to Arsenal. Anyone think that shouldn't have been a penalty?
No, that was definitely a penalty.
That was only a penalty. I think.
Was it given?
No. That's amazing.
No, and you know what it is like? The timeline on Twitter has been great today with all the salty Arsenal fans. I actually really enjoyed myself. But it was, do you know what? VAR levels itself out. We've been shafted enough times this season,
exactly.
And we've had them given against us, and we've had penalties not given to us that we should have got, and we've had goals that were offside that weren't offside. So do you know what? When you get a decision like that, you take it and you go, do you know what? I got shafted earlier in the season, the first 16 games, so I'm going to take whatever little bit of luck I can get. And hey, swings and roundabouts, lads. Swings and roundabouts.
That's the word, Mark. Swings and roundabouts. We have had so many against us, so many, and we've not had as many go our way back. So that's just one going back our way. That's the way I see it. And you know what? Why are Arsenal directing their frustration about that decision against us? Take it up with the fucking Premier League. Take it up with VAR, not with us. We didn't make the decision.
Exactly. We can only play the whistle.
Exactly. I mean, you could argue, and we've already gone past this point, you could argue there was a tug on Dan Burn in the box in the first half.
That was also a penalty. In my opinion, that was a penalty straight up.
I didn't see it straight the way, Mark, but I watched it back. I watched it back a few times. And, there's a clear shove on Dan Burn when Dan Burn was in to get the head of the ball. But if you watch it really closely, Gabriel tugs his shirt. He tugs his shirt just before contact's about to be made. So you could argue that was a penalty. Maybe not as much as a penalty as the Dan Burn situation, but penalty is a penalty.
I think that's the problem, though, Pete. The problem here for everybody, including Arsenal fans, Liverpool, Man U, Chelsea, whoever, all of us, all the teams in the league. The problem is the inconsistency. Yeah. The problem is the different teams in VAR, the different refereeing standards, and the application of the law and the rules. That goes for offside, onside, penalties, non-penalties, shirt pulling, fouls. If he goes down in the box, as Dan Burn did, and as Gabriel did, and that's not a penalty and that's not a foul, then is that not a dive and a booking for simulation? So where are the rules applied? So, the only problem I had, obviously, when that penalty call went in, and you're kind of looking at that, and then you're looking at the handball one, and you're kind of going, oh, fuck, we're going to get shafted here. The problem from their angle of taking or wanting to get the penalty was the free kick should never have been given in the first place, because the tackle from Joe Linton was not a foul. He clipped the ball first before the player went over. So the resultant free kick led to their claim for a penalty, which should never have stood because it shouldn't have been a free kick. That was my biggest issue with that. It wasn't the fact it wasn't a penalty, but it should never have got to that in the first place because the free kick should never have been awarded.
Yeah.
So that was my issue with that piece last night with some of the Arsenal fans. And as you said, it wasn't shown. Half the other stuff wasn't shown. Dan Burns wasn't even shown on Sky.
Hardly any of the Newcastle stuff was. It was brushed away. I don't know. Look, in fact, I'll wait. I'll let Daz go through the rest.
Yeah, it's surprising that Arteta didn't mention it either. Well, because he did make sure he got the talk in for the two penalties. But yeah, then on the 67th minute, I put a text in the actually. Cheers, Ray.
Cheers, Ray.
Cheers for the donation to the channel, Ray. Thanks very much. I put a text in our group chat. Now it's time for Eddie to bring on ASM and take off Willock. And Eddie responded by taking off Wilson and Miggy and bringing on Wood and Murphy. And I was scratching my head. I don't think I was the only one that was scratching my head going, okay. But there was logic to it too. We do trust in Eddie. And yeah, he was playing for the draw at that stage. I think he saw that Wilson was probably out of steam and Miggy was on that yellow card as well. Yeah, so it worked out. We got the draw in the end. But the pressure came from Arsenal. They seemed to up a gear. Then again, header from Martelli went over. Corner across the box from Newcastle. Arsenal did up the pressure again. Willock came off. ASM come on 86 minutes. Brilliant save by Pope. This isn't the one, but you get the idea. Brilliant save by Pope from Nketiah on the 87th minute. Bruno on the 92nd minute. Again, he goes to the crowd and cheers up the crowd. Every game he does that now. Love that again. And then well, just even Joe Linton had shown the passion to get back, to track back. And then there was a claim from Arsenal, and here's the picture on that, and here's them protesting, I guess, for the penalty. Sorry, the ball hit Murphy on the arm. Arsenal looking for a penalty. Ref waved it away. VAR said didn't go for it either. Wasn't buying it. Arteta was not too pleased on the sideline as well. And great to see Eddie getting involved. And Mad Dog as ever is in there. We rarely see Eddie getting involved in a heated debate, but cool, calm, and composed as always was Eddie. And then we have Lascelles as well, taking his second yellow card. Oh, fair play to him. You knew that he was going. You saw him there. You knew what he was doing.
He's more cards on appearances. It's deadly.
Yeah.
We knew exactly what he was doing.
We all respect that. But so he did play his part full time with 0-0 at the Emirates, and we got our draw, got a point against the league leaders, stopped them going 10 points ahead of us, and I was just happy with that. I think we all would have taken that before the game. Thoughts, Martin? We'll go to you first. Thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing for me, and I put it up on Twitter today, like everybody's been, Arsenal fans have been going mad. Arsenal fans TV, I'm sure Pete will talk about it. There's a couple of comments in the chat about it. Eddie Howe, in my opinion, last night Newcastle turned up a bit of a masterclass. Were we as good on the ball? No. Did we have the opportunity to have a bit of free-flowing ball counter-attack? No. But I think all three of us and a majority of lads sitting at home, lads and lasses, I think we knew we weren't going to get that opportunity. We put in our group chat, I said, if we can hold it together for the first 20, 25 minutes, we'll do okay. I was nervy at the end because I thought Arsenal were going to sneak it. And I put it in our chat. I can see a 1-0 coming up here because we were just under the hammer. But I think after that 20, 25 minutes when we were really under the cosh, we were playing 4-3-3. Eddie changed it up then to a 4-5-1. And we started to compact down. We then started to put three players around Saka and their wingers. And every time they broke, 9 times out of 10, if you looked at it, we had three players on them. So not only did he change it tactically, he was able to compact it down, keep their wingers quiet. Saka didn't really get a look in the second half, had a bit of a whinge because he had Joe Linton up his backside a few times. But we really nullified their attack. And I think that showed the intelligence of Eddie Howe and the tactical awareness to be able to close that down, see where those issues were within 20 minutes and make that change on the pitch without having to put a sub in there. So I think that for me was, an outstanding piece of management from him, from Jason Tyndall and from the rest of them to get the same players doing it. I think the other thing that should be mentioned, I think somebody put it in the chat there, is a massive, massive difference for me in that game last night was our fitness. If our fitness wasn't where it is, we'd have shagged out on about 65 minutes because we were run ragged a little bit that first half, to be fair. And we were chasing ball at times. I think I put that in the chat. Jesus, we were chasing shadows here in the midfield. Odegaard was just passing through us. But second half, I thought we were way better. We were more compact. I questioned the subs. I thought, Wilson I kind of got because he normally does bring in Wood to close out a game. I was surprised at Almiron for Murphy. But look, as you said, in Eddie we trust. We grounded out the point, pissed a load of people off. And, I put up a picture up on Twitter last night with the first team twice in the league to stop Arsenal scoring. So we took the 2-0 win against them the back end of last season and then 0-0 last night. No other team has done that. And to have 6 clean sheets in a row from Nick Pope and that back four, and then to take points from a team who have scored in every single Premier League game and not lost a game is outstanding. So, listen, fair dues where it's due. I thought it was outstanding. I thought defence were brilliant. Botman was just outstanding, in my opinion. Yeah. So, yeah, really nervy game, but enjoyed taking the point.
We all did. Pete,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Your thoughts on the game?
Just before that, just some breaking news. Isaac Hayden, I think, is out with another serious injury again. He's just posted on social media, and
I see them all strapped up.
Yeah, no, to be fair, it was yesterday he posted, but Newcastle just put wishing him a speedy recovery. So looks like his season's done, and likelihood he's coming back to Newcastle because Norwich need to get promoted in order for him to exercise that deal. But look, for me, the Arsenal game was the acid test. It was the big test, the biggest test of us this season. And Arsenal fans didn't like it, but we passed that test, in my opinion, with flying colours. I am so happy with how we set up. I'm so happy with how it was executed. For me, I think I put it in our chat at the end of the game last night because you know what I'm like, lads. I don't like tweeting during the game because I'm just so focused on the game.
It's only me and Daz in the chat during the match.
Yeah, I don't even use my phone. I never use my phone during the game because I'm just like fully just ingrained in it. But I said to you guys after the game, I said, you know, we absolutely passed that test 110%. The game plan was executed perfectly, and Arsenal didn't like it. Why they didn't like it is because they, and even Dan Potts said the same. He thought that it was going to be going for the throat, you know, blow for blow. You know, you attack, we attack. Not like that. Okay, this is why Arsenal haven't been successful for the last 15 years. It's because they've got one style of play, one way of playing, and they haven't got a plan B. And what we showed last night is that we've got a plan B, and even we've got a plan C, because Mark, you were absolutely right. In the first 10, 15 minutes, Saka and Odegaard, they isolated Dan Burn, and they got the better of him 2, maybe 3 times in that first 15 minutes. But what we've got is a quality manager that can come in and make a change in game. If that was Steve Bruce, would have been 3-0 down.
In the first 10 minutes.
Easily, because he wouldn't have made a change, and he would have thrown men forward, and we would have got absolutely hammered. But what was done in that game, and actually, I've got to give a huge shout out to Joe Willock here, because initially he put Joe Linton on Saka to double up, but even then, Joe Linton was letting him get by far too easily. So what they did, they put Joe Willock in there because Joe Willock had the pace to keep toe to toe with Saka. And because he didn't have the legs to get past Joe Willock, it just nullified him. And then Joe Linton was there as the third place backup to kind of sweep up anything from Odegaard. And it just worked perfectly. And that type of in-game tactical play is just why we love Eddie Howe so much, because he's so good at making those quick changes that affect the game there and then, and it stopped Arsenal playing. And the tactic was there. Now, you've got all the Arsenal fans who have heard from apparently Ty from Arsenal Fans TV saying we're a nothing club. We've had Arsenal fans. I was on Lee Judge's channel the other day on Monday, and you know, he was very, very respectful about Newcastle. But apparently, and I've not watched it, but on his reaction show, he said, you know, we're a negative and blah blah blah. And you know, Dan Potts has mentioned about us being negative to a point. I don't think we're negative at all. We weren't sitting on our 18-yard box. We played as a solid unit, but I tell you what, you still had Callum Wilson pressing high. You still had Almiron pressing high, Joe Linton. We still had players pressing and pushing them back constantly. That's not a team that's sitting behind the ball. That's a team that's compact, difficult to break down, and a team that will go and attack you when and if we can in parts of the game. And I tell you what, I don't know what you guys think, but for me, we had the better chances in the game. Apart from that Nketiah chance, which was a great save by Nick Pope, they produced absolutely nothing in that 96 minutes. Produced nothing. And that wasn't down to, and a lot of Arsenal fans said, oh, Saka had an off day, Martinelli had an off day. No. Trippier had Martinelli in his pocket from minute 1. Martinelli was not in the game. Non-factor, and he's meant to be this top player in the Premier League. Not in the game, non-factor. Saka after 10 minutes, nothing. Dan Burn, right? And Newcastle fans hammer him sometimes and say, oh, we're worried about him, lack of pace, blah, blah, blah. Yes, he struggled 10 minutes, but I tell you what, for the rest of that game, I thought Dan Burn was fucking good. I thought he was brilliant.
I put a picture of him up on Twitter today, Pete, and I said, you know what? When I rewatched the highlights there this morning, I put a picture of him up on my Twitter feed, and I went, do you know what? This guy, let's just remember here, this guy is not a left back. He's not. He's not. He's a centre back. But I thought he was outstanding last night. The back four, Nick Pope, to be fair, as you said, barring the one save, he didn't really have too much to do. Everything he did with calmness. So the problem, as you said, Eddie Howe, Newcastle last night had an A, B, and a C. The problem Arsenal had was they'd nobody to finish. They had enough chances.
Yeah, they're striker short. They're missing
but they did not have enough in that from Odegaard's position, probably from a 10 up. They didn't have anybody that could put the ball in the net. And that was their downfall. And that will be their downfall until either Jesus comes back or they get a striker.
Yeah.
Very simple to me. You can't win games if you don't put the ball in the net.
Smith Rowe as well as another loss to them.
You can't win games, Martin. You can't win games if you don't put chances on target.
Exactly.
What was there other than Pope? You can say that Newcastle, sat in and defended well, but we made you not create any chances. The only chance they created was the Nketiah chance. That was it. Nothing else throughout the whole of that time. So it's not like Nick Pope was being peppered. It's not like he had to make 15 saves in a game. He didn't have to do anything. He came and collected a few. He came and just collected a few and went down to ground. A few little slice shots here and there. Other than that, he had nothing to do. And that just shows the progression of Newcastle, because we went there and we did all right for 45 minutes last year and then ended up getting overridden. The amount of times that we've been to Arsenal and we've lost 4-0 and we've lost 3-0. Before the game, they were showing the 7-3 when we had Demba Ba and Happy Cisse, and we did well there, but we just gifted chance after chance after chance. This team is built differently, and this is the problem. The Arsenal fans are frustrated, not just because they didn't win the game, but because they know their players didn't perform in a game that was dubbed one of the biggest games of the season for them, because they needed to win that game. We didn't. We didn't have the pressure on us. They did. They needed to win that game to solidify their stance of winning the title and going 10 points clear. What we've shown actually to the rest of the Premier League is actually that's how you go and nullify an Arsenal team. Yeah. And that's how, when you nullify them, they haven't got a plan B. Arsenal need to go out, and don't get me wrong, they're a good footballing side. They play some good football at times, but only to a point, only to the 18-yard box. They need to go out and seriously strengthen with attacking players if they're going to go and make that next step, because they've got tough games coming up in the next 2 or 3 games that they've got to play. And we've got the likes of Fulham, Palace coming up, West Ham. We take 9 points from that. I don't think Arsenal take 9 points from their next 3 games.
No.
That all could be.
They've had a decent run. Man United are the same, Pete. Man United couldn't have had 3 better fixtures to come back to for New Year's. And they've got tougher fixtures. So have City, so Liverpool. I think the one of the good points that I got there today, is somebody put up, is we've now played all of the top 7, 6 of the top 7. Yeah. And we've only lost once.
Yeah, I think that's one of the our friend Carvery Chris, as he's now known, had one of his stats, and I think it's taken from Alex actually, Alex in True Faith. So Newcastle United have played 6 of the other 7 top sides in the league away from home and lost once. And we all know what that one was. Should have been crossed off as well. We shouldn't have got the draw on that one. But interesting stat from Alex there. Thanks, Carver.
I think the other thing as well, I watched the lads True Geordie, the kickoff. They did like a wrap up on the back end of the show last night because they were streaming live on Twitch. And the 4 lads, Thogden was on. There's the lad, I forget his name, I think it's Camille or someone. He does the All About Spurs podcast. Really, really good podcast. A few of the boys on, and he went round the table afterwards. Wasn't one complaint, and every single man around the table went, Newcastle are mixing it with the big boys, and they're showing that they can put their toes in the pond and they ain't going anywhere. And that they can go and they can mix it with the top 6, and they ain't going to get beat easily. And your man Thogden went, lads, you've got to put that into perspective. There's 16 games gone. They've only lost once. okay, they might get a few more draws, but they're not going to lose that many. So when they went round the table and they went with the top 4, every single one of the 6 put us in the top 4.
No, great point, Mark. And the thing is, we are only at the beginning of this journey, of this project. We are only getting started. And speaking of getting started, we too at Loaded are only getting started, and we are 45 subs away from 5k. So do the right thing. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed already, or if you coming across this channel for the first time, just hit that subscribe button. Make sure you also hit the like button as well. It makes more people find us, and they get to enjoy what you enjoy. Listen to us rather than most nights of the week. But that was it for the kind of rundown of the game. We can go 2 directions, lads. Do you want to look at Arteta's rant? Do we talk about Arteta's rant, or do you want to go into the ratings?
I'm easy. I don't mind.
Let's go to the ratings. Play along at home. You know how it works at this stage. Rightio. First up for Popey. Is Popey. For me, when he was called upon, he delivered. It was the Nketiah save that Pete mentioned. I think there might have been another save as well earlier in the game, potentially this one. But yeah, it doesn't matter. There was very few anyway. But I'm giving Popey a 9. Martin.
Yeah, I'd agree. He was good. Certainly a good 8.5, 9. Did everything he needed to. I didn't think he was under that much pressure, and everything he took well. I know people will slate him for a little bit of time waste and everything else, but that's, look, a little bit of shithousery. We've learned how to do it well and effective. That's why people are pissed off.
Yeah, he's the only one on the team that I would say genuinely did a little bit of time wasting, if I'm honest with you. All the rest of the players were genuinely down or injured for whatever reason. Yeah, I'll go with it. Same 9. I thought it was brilliant again. Best performing goalkeeper in the Premier League, easy.
Yeah, definitely. And what a bargain we got in getting
top man,
cheers, George. Top man.
Oh, cheers, George. Thanks very much,
cheers, buddy,
for the donation to the channel.
Next
up, we have Trippier. Showing leading from the back, chatting to the ref, controlling everything, making sure he pointed out that, hey, Bruno got a yellow card for something similar. Give it to Xhaka now as well, and this, that, and the other. But Trippier, I'm giving him a 9.
Yeah, I loved watching him last night because, as everybody knows, I have always been quite critical of Jamal Lascelles in that I just wanted him to be a leader. I wanted him to be the Trippier. I wanted him to be a captain that shithouse when he needed to, that protected his players and told them to get their socks up and everything else. So Trippier for me was everything I want from a captain. He led, he was positioning players, he was in the referee's face in the right way, in the right manner. He's just absolute class. So for those reasons alone, I'm giving him a 10 from last night. So I think he was just top notch. Yep.
Does that mean Trippier gets your man of the match?
No, not necessarily.
No. Okay. Right. Carry on. Pete, your thoughts on Trippier?
No, I think me and Mark are going to be very, very similar tonight. I think it's like we've already spoken ahead of time. And Trippier is easily a 10 for me. You know what? Martinelli is a hell of a good player, one of the top young players in world
movement
football,
is unreal.
not just in the Premier League. He is so good. But that's the quietest game I've seen him play all season, and that's because of Trippier. He did it against Harvey Barnes at the King Power against Leicester. He's done it again tonight, last night, should I say, against Martinelli. He knows how to play against these trickier players. He might not have the pace of these guys, but he knows how to play against them. And I thought he was superb. I thought he was so good. Easily a 10 for me.
Yep, fully agreed.
Right up, move on to Fabian Schär. I think it's counted about 3 or 4 times he went down, and some people say he doesn't go down and hold his head. But he's getting knocks. He's constantly getting knocks. There were valid reasons he was going down. But again, solid display from Schär as always, bringing the ball out. I think there was I remember at one point in the game now, it's coming back to me, where no one was making a move on him, so he kept going and he kept wandering up. Cheers, Daniel, for becoming a member as well.
You, buddy.
And but I'm giving Schär a 9. Martin.
Yeah, look, he takes the knocks. I mean, Daz, me and you were texting last night going, oh no, here he goes again. But he gets up, he gets on with it. He takes a few hits, and I think he's integral. So yeah, I think another 9. I think defensively we're not going to be too far out, all of us amongst these players.
Yeah, 9.5 for me. I thought he was outstanding. I thought he was really, really good. I thought his knocks when he went down were genuine. He did get battered a little bit in that game, but you know, he didn't stay down as long as he normally does. He was, you know, he got battered genuinely, got up, got on with the game, but he was everywhere, won every header, nicking the ball. I loved how he would just glide it through into midfield with the ball. He's just so elegant with the ball. And there was one in the first half where he just cut the whole of their midfield apart, where he just travelled right through into the middle of the pitch. You can see, you can hear the Arsenal fans groaning as if to say, "What are you doing, allowing him to do this?" Unfortunately, it didn't materialise to anything, but I just thought it was brilliant. 9.5 for me.
9.5. Cool. Right up on to Sven Botman. Solid as always. Again, I'm gonna go 9.5 for Botman for me. Just class.
I'm going to 10. He is the Rolls Royce. He is the man. But yeah, I mean, what do you say about him? 22 years old. Lots of chat around who's the better defender. You know, everybody would get best defender we've seen. Telling you, this kid is the best centre half we have ever had by a long mile. He's class. He's just an absolute machine. And I think he's only going to get better and better and better. So yeah. Top man, top marks, immense.
Same. Sven Bartholomew Botman. I don't know his name. I just made it up.
Is that really his middle name?
I'm just going to give him random middle names from now on.
Yeah, that's a good name.
But I just love the guy. I love him. You know what? It's not because he makes these last-ditch tackles or he's like putting his body in the way, like the old Vidic and John Terry's. He doesn't need to do it because his positioning is so good. He makes things look so easy when they're not. And honestly, the guy is unbelievable. Like you've just talked about it, Mark, in terms of Albert's, the Colacinis, the Woodgates. For me, he's only been here 16, 17 games. He's the best I've seen at Newcastle in a defensive position. He's the best.
His reading of the game for such a young lad and knowing where to be and just getting a couple of those times last night, just last ditch toe on a ball, just to tip it away left or right. His timing is just perfect because he plays so close to the attacking player. I actually don't know how he doesn't give more penalties away. But his timing is just so good instinctively to read the ball and read where the player is going to position himself. For such a young lad, it's out of this world at times. So yeah, really looking forward to him progressing and just being better and better and better.
I love him.
Exactly. And of course, the record is intact. We haven't lost a game when he's played.
No.
Amazing. Quiz. There's a quiz question for Pete. Can you give me James Madison's middle name? I told you. Can you remember?
Catherine.
Is it Daniel?
Daniel, yes, that's correct answer. Oh, there's no points for that one, I'm afraid. Rightio. Let's move on. Dan Burn, big Dan Burn. We did describe it in the match walkthrough again. The pace was kind of catching him out at the start of the game, but as we said, Eddie switched things around. But then it was class after that. I've given Dan Burn a 9.
Yeah, I'd say the same. Look, again, defensively, I think they're all kind of 9s and 10s. So did what he needed to do. I think he nullified Saka and the guys, started to pull it together. A little bit shaky early on, but look, Saka's a quality player, man. Hard to keep that kid quiet. He tore World Cup defenses apart. So, look, a good 9. No, we'll give him a 9.5.
9.5. Pete?
Yeah. Same, 9.5. Saka is, for me, probably the best winger in the Premier League this season. Almiron's had a superb season, but for me, Saka is just phenomenal. He really is a top player. And you know what? I really admire Dan Burn because those first 10 minutes were tough for him. And I was looking back at some of the messages, and Mark, you were worried at one point in those early minutes because everything was being targeted for him, and they had put their game plan together
to try and rip us down outside,
to try and isolate him, and for him to turn that round. And yes, it was tactically done by Eddie Howe, but for him mentally to turn that round,
to be able to
put
react
the performance in he did for the rest of the game after that, and basically, keep Saka, who's a top player, quiet. For me, that deserves massive credit. So for me, 9.5. I probably could have given him a 10. Albeit those first 10 minutes, I probably could have given him a 10 because I thought it was excellent. It was really good. Unlucky not to get a penalty. On top of that, caused havoc in the opposition box, corners, free kicks. We need to be targeting him more for corners and free kicks. He deserves a goal. So does Botman. We need to target them more, but he was brilliant.
Yeah, that will be the one criticism. I think I said that a little while the other day. There is just for the height of the two boys, and look, Trippier's service is pretty much quality all game round. But we really should be getting a little bit more. I know they're top class players, but for the height of them against some of the defenses, I think we should be getting that. Would probably be my only criticism, not from a defensive point, but from an offensive point with the boys as big as they are. I think we should be getting a little bit more from them in kind of from a goals point. That will be, maybe I'll get shouted out for that, but
no, it's fair enough. And like Byrne was very, very close against Leeds in the last day. He just needed to be that a little bit longer. But right.
Just 7'2".
If you can, right, that is the defense and the goalkeeper covered. I know in the chat people are asking for rating for themselves. We'll give him a 10 for what he did in slowing down play as well. But fair play and ourselves credit.
You know what, guys? I would love Jamal Lascelles to get a ban just for getting 10 yellow cards.
And not playing. Yeah.
That would be
a two-match ban.
Player of the season.
Actually not playing, yeah.
I think it ends in like April, May in terms of the cutoff for the 10. But I'd love him to just pick up those cards as we went along over the course of the season. That'd be unreal.
Right, we'll move on to the midfield and attack. Now, for me, my ratings go slightly downwards as we get into the midfield and attack. But everyone has a solid game. Longstaff, I'm going to go, and I know they're playing against a difficult Arsenal midfield. I'm giving Longstaff 7.5. Martin.
Oh, yeah, I'd probably go same. I didn't think he had the best of games. I know he suits the system, but I thought he was a bit sloppy with the ball at times. He was a bit better second half, got a good couple of blocks in. But yeah, probably not his best game this season. But he has done well this season, fitting into the system. I think he fits where he needs to fit. But we also do need an upgrade. So yeah, 7.5 maybe.
Yeah, I went for an 8 for Sean Longstaff. On the ball, wasn't great. He's so important from a defensive point of view. The things that he does, whether it's like when we have a corner, for example, he's the furthest man back. He's like the last man in defense. He does little jobs in the team that are so important. And to be fair, he frustrates the hell out of me because he does take too long on the ball and he does get the ball nicked off him too easily. But some of the last-ditch tackles that he makes that doesn't come to anything because he's there and he gets in the right positions, I think is important to the team. I do think we need an upgrade there massively, and we do need a proper number 6 to play in that position. And I think from the recent links, and I'm sure we'll get into transfers over the next few days, that's what Eddie Howe wants as well. But I just think that was the perfect game for him last night because we were under the cosh and getting around the pitch and not worrying about having to do too much with the ball at his feet, but just getting there and being in positions to nick the ball. Not as good as the other players. So, yeah, 8 for me. But, yeah, I do see the stuff that he does that people may not see, the dirty stuff that we've talked about before that makes him an important part of the team.
Yeah, and I just saw what comment coming through there about him being better than the Leeds game. And you're right, because I look back at my ratings. I give him a 7.5 there for the yesterday's game, but in the Leeds game, I gave him a 6.75. So yeah, it is an improvement. So fair play. Moving on to Bruno. Bruno in the middle. He got an early yellow card, I think, around in the 27 minutes, and that kind of did take a bit of a bite out of his game. Now again, he was playing in a tough midfield. I've given him an 8. For Bruno, but I still love watching him play. Marty.
Yeah, I don't think he had one of his better games last night. I'm not sure if it fully suited him, and I know that sounds quite weird because he's world class, but I thought the last 2 games he's kind of been off it a little bit. He's not really that ball distribution there, and the thing with the Leeds game and this one, maybe he's getting a bit more man marked and stuff like that. I just thought he's been a little bit snappy. A little bit angrier quite quickly, and it's not like him. So I think he was a good 8 last night, but I think he was off the pace from where he normally is. Maybe a lot of that is due to things going back home in Brazil and Pele, and maybe the lad's got a lot on his mind. And look, players have off games; they dip in and out of form, but he's normally that consistent. So when he's not, you really do notice it. But I thought he was okay, but just not. I didn't think he was on the top of his game, so yeah, I'll give him an 8.5, but not. He wasn't the Bruno that we know can be there.
No, I agree. I've given him an 8.5. It wasn't his best game in terms of being on the ball. Reason being is he was coming up against a really good midfield, and he didn't get everything his own way. We didn't have massive amounts of possession with the ball, but what I liked is that he's so calm in difficult positions. He picks the ball in deep positions, and he's able to travel past 1 or 2 players with ease. It just takes the pressure off the team, and he did that on quite a few occasions. Won a few free kicks in the middle of the pitch. I think he got one of the players booked. Might have been was it Odegaard? May have been that pulled him back in the first half. He does those little things that just takes the pressure off the team. So even when he's not playing well, like Martin said, you're absolutely right. When he's not dominating the ball and dictating the play and doing what he did against Leicester, for example, he's still got that ability to play the other side of the game, to dig in and get stuck in and battle and do a job for the team, and just have that little bit of calm and quality. Like Trippier is so calm in the most difficult of situations. Bruno's exactly the same. There was a time in the second half where we were under the cosh for 3 or 4 minutes, and he collects the ball on the 18-yard box, and he just glides past 2 or 3 players. He ends up running into trouble in the end and kind of doesn't go anywhere with it. But for that few 10 seconds or so, he just takes the pressure off the team because he can just hold on to the ball so well. So I kind of saw that element of his game come through in a different light, obviously being a difficult game against Arsenal. So I'm at 8.5.
That's fair. Good. Cheers, Pete. We'll move on. We'll move on to Joe Willock. And I know you mentioned it in the recap there, Pete, and I wrote it down here as well when I was watching the game. It was good covering on Saka. He did work back. He was then towards the end of the game. You see him pulling up, and I know we were kind of nearly down to 10 men at one point. I was thinking, get him off, because I thought that was going to cost us. But he was wrecked at that stage, and saying, come on, I'm giving Joe Willock an 8.
Ooh, an 8.
Yeah.
See, this is where I'm going to differ. I'm actually going to give Joe Willock a 10, and I'll tell you why. Going back to his old stomping ground. Mm-hmm. He had a lot to live up to. I thought he put himself about the pitch, and he never, ever stopped and covered pretty much every blade of grass. Easy for me to say. He, tackled back. He broke when he could. He put the ball in the box. He attacked when he could. He covered a 3-man defense. I think he did every job he was asked to do and more, and it's hardly surprising he was getting cramps. He ran himself into the ground. So for that reason alone, the commitment that he gave to the team, I'm giving Joe Willock an outright 10 for last night. I thought he was just class. Really good last night.
That's it. We all have our own individual rating system, so everyone's opinion is valid, and those in the chat as well. But Pete, I'm expecting you're going to go high with Joe Willock as well.
Honestly, we're exactly the same.
We haven't spoke beforehand. Yeah,
no, we
haven't.
We did. I've not even had time to. Like I said to you, boys, I only came on with like 3 minutes to go before the show. I had Joe Willock as my man of the match. I thought he was sensational yesterday. I think that's his best all-round performance for Newcastle United that I've seen. I thought he was tremendous. You know, tactically doing a job on Saka. Like Martin said, covered every single blade of grass. I'm not surprised he got cramp. I'm not surprised. And, you know, he wanted to play on. Like, he was having such a good game. His ability to carry the ball long distances is so good. He just needs to work on his final ball. If he can get that right, we have got a top player on our hands. There's no doubt about it. And he's 22, so he's got plenty of time to develop and grow. And he's in the last year, he's already grown and developed as a player since Eddie Howe's got hold of him. And you know, I'm really excited to see what we see when we're talking about him this time next year. I just thought he was brilliant, really good, and he went toe to toe with their midfield. He wasn't afraid, wasn't scared, got stuck in with the likes of Partey, got in there with the likes of Odegaard, wasn't afraid of anybody, and really pushed us forward. Loved it, really did love it, and fully deserved that number that 10 rating, in my opinion.
No, that's fair enough. I mean, you know, a good point you made, Mark, there about him going back to his old stomping ground as well. Right, we move on. Let's go to Miggy. Miggy didn't have the freedom he normally has when he's playing against the top side, but Zinchenko did well in him, I thought, as well, on the night. I'm going low enough for Miggy. I'm going 7 for Miggy for last night. He got taken off as well. Murphy brought on. Got the stupid yellow card, but that was just on the ref, not me. 7.
Yeah, look, he didn't have his best game, but I think, as you said, he was nullified to a degree. I don't think, maybe again, a bit like Bruno, I just don't think the game was set up really that way. The way it went the first 25 minutes, we had to change the way we played. You know, there was a bit of chasing shadows. Okay, would you have liked him there for breaking forward? Yeah, you would have, but listen, Arsenal's defense is decent as well. They don't concede a lot either. So I think we need to be mindful that, like, we were up against a very good team. As Pete said, yeah, it's a milestone. We put our feet in the water and we showed we could mix it with the big boys, and that we're not going away. But you know, we can't win every single game. We're probably not going to lose loads, but we're also not going to win. We'll probably get more draws than we will wins. But you know, look. Again, as Pete said, you know, it's the early parts of a project. We move on, we keep going, and we keep putting the effort in. That's all we can do. So I just don't think it was one of his games, really, for him to show that flair. But you know, doesn't mean he's turned into a bad player.
Oh, that's definitely the case.
Yep,
Pete,
exactly.
thoughts of Miggy?
I actually thought he did well in attacking areas where you want him to.
He did good, yeah.
Yeah, he was a threat whenever we got into those areas, and you could tell. The one thing I noticed is that the Arsenal defense were worried about him. They didn't know what to do. Whenever he got into that attacking area, he was manipulating the ball really well. Arsenal were really standoffish. They didn't want to get too close because they didn't know what he was capable of. But what I really liked again about Miggy is his ability to press so high. There was at least 3 occasions where he was from the right-hand side, pressed the goalkeeper, then their right back, so the opposite end of the pitch, then back into midfield. The guy just doesn't stop running. He does not stop running, and I'm not surprised he got taken off when he did, because, again, a little bit like Willock, he just covers every blade of grass. And sometimes certainly this season, we've looked beyond that because he's been scoring goals and he's been really effective in the final third, but that, again, last night just shows he's still got ability, and it's just his work rate it's a hot commodity. There's not many players that work as hard as he does on a football pitch, and for as long as he does. He could have done 90 minutes. Eddie Howe saving him because he probably wants him available for Sheffield Wednesday, and he'll certainly want him available for Leicester. He's basically saved him. You know, with regards to running himself into the ground. And we're going to have to look after Miggy, because the one thing I worry about is burnout, because he works
you don't want him
so
to get
hard.
injured either.
Yeah,
Never gets injured. Never gets injured.
I think the other thing that we need to be cognizant of, Pete, here is Miggy maybe wasn't as effective because Trippier wasn't able to get up as high as he could because the marking with Martinelli.
Yeah.
So, you know, those two have linked so many times where we have had the counter-attack space, which, to be fair, we didn't get that loads last night. So the game was different. So therefore, Miggy's game is going to be different. You know, Trippier, you know, was sitting trying to mark and marshal that back four. I was, you know, okay, we didn't get up the field. Miggy didn't have as good a game, but I was much happier with Trippier marshalling that defense and taking a 0-0 out of Highbury than or out of the Emirates than I would have been if Miggy had gone the other end and maybe put 2 more crosses in. So, you know, you just got to take those levels and kind of go, okay, it wasn't that game. So.
Yeah, if Miggy wants to get a 10 from me, he needs to score 2 goals, and one of those goals has to be a worldie. Then he'll get a 10. So, and you're right, Pete. Never stops running. He ran home after the game as well, with a big smile on his face. But that is Miggy. We will move on. Wilson up next. Wilson, great to see him start again. I don't think any of us would be too happy to see Chris Wood starting, but I have Wilson down as a 7.
Yourself does.
I know you do. You and Jordan love Wood.
Yeah,
but yeah, I'll give him Wilson a 7. A difficult day for me. He tried his best, and he just kind of ran out of steam. Then difficult purpose, like solid partnership with Arsenal defense. So, but 7.
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Daz. Maybe a 7.5. I wouldn't give him much more. It didn't really have chances. You know, you're trying to play through the middle of that Arsenal midfield and set him up. I just don't think it was one of those games for him. Listen, top class striker, but you know, he needs to be able to run at people. He needs that ball slid in, you know, in between that back line, or you know, a little dink ball over the top or something, you know, whipped in from Miggy. So just look, what wasn't the game for him. So, you know, look, he did a good job, but not a night for him, unfortunately. So yeah, 7.5.
Cool. Pete, thoughts on Wilson?
Yeah, I've gone 7.5. I think the thing that I was most disappointed about with Wilson is his ability to not make the ball stick. So the ball was going long to him for long parts of the game when he was on, and he just didn't make the ball stick. Sometimes it was well defended. Look, Gabriel and Saliba are good centre backs. They're good players. You know, arguably, you know, just below Botman and Shaw, you would probably have those two as the best centre back pairing in the Premier League. So for me, I just think he could have done more. He could have been stronger. He could have held the ball up. He could have made the ball stick, particularly in the first half. It kept bouncing back, which is why they were encouraged to keep attacking us. We normally rely on him to do that, and he's so good at that normally. And I just think, for me, he could have been better, but he's building himself back to fitness, so
yeah,
we can give him that little bit of grace.
Cool, fair enough. And it will be interesting to see who starts on Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday at 6:00. Will it be the return of Isaac, or will it be Wilson again run out, or will it be Wood? But interesting to watch that team selection. It drops at 5:00 on Saturday. Right, let's go to J7. J7, I put down here my notes.
Evening, Paul.
Paul. How's it going? The Chris Wood fan club there in Paul. Nice to see him join us. Yeah, J7. Good defensive display. Pity that he missed that on the 46th minute. That one didn't go in the back of the net. It probably would have spurred Arsenal even more, though. That's the only thing. But yeah, I'm giving Joe Linton a 8.
Yeah, I'd say the same. He did a good job. Yeah, again, I just think not really his game, but he bolstered the midfield well, came in where he needed to, doubled up on cover. So, you know, he did the job for the team. And sometimes that's all it takes. You know, it's not necessarily a 4 or 5 goal thriller. You just need to do the job.
Yeah, I gave Joe 8.5. I just think, Paul's right, by the way. We're so close to 5K. Come and help us out. And Paul, I think, is on 15.9K. So let's get him to 16K. Let's all hit the benchmarks at the same time. Why not?
Yeah,
big party.
Yeah, there you go. But no, I think I gave 8.5 for Joe. I thought he did well. I liked the fact that I saw him back in the midfield, centre midfield. He didn't start there, but he moved into there towards the end of the game, and I liked that he was back in there. And I thought he was better when he was there. He's good tactically as a left-sided attacker, but you just want someone to just go at a player. And he had a couple of times in the first half where he could have gone and really just attacked their right back, Ben White, who I don't think was great last night. And he just, it's like he's not really got any ideas of what he wants to do. It's almost like you want his tactical knowledge and ASM's attacking ability to come together to form the perfect player for that position. Because if that was ASM going at Ben White, he'd have had him on toast. And that's the thing that kind of lets me down when he plays on that left-hand side. Tactically good, but doesn't really give you what you want kind of consistently on that left-hand side. He was great against Leicester, not great against Leeds, not great again in the way that I would expect him to be at Arsenal. So, yeah, 8.5 because of his work rate and his tripling up with Saka. But other than that, yeah, definitely not his best game.
Cool. That concludes the ratings, guys. And as we all agreed at the start, a great result to getting a draw away from home against the league leaders. But that leads us to something else that we wanted to say as well on the show tonight, because you will have seen there's a few tweets went out yesterday. We want to make a mark of respect towards Dave as well, our friend Dave, and it links in nicely with Paul being in the chat as well, because I'm going to use Paul's picture. Shout out. A shout up, I should say, to our friend Dave, passed away a year ago.
Yeah.
R.I.P. So let us move on. Let's go to the league table, lads. No, let's talk about Arteta's little rant then after the game. He should have had 2 penalties. We agreed he should have got 1, but he didn't, and the balance says out. But definitely the handball was not. It was a non-starter, and the antics from the Arsenal players on the pitch, so in the referee and Arteta, the antics on the sideline. But Anthony, you guys want to say about
that? Do you know what? I think he's as bad as Klopp at the minute. You know, it's like little schoolboy tantrums, like outside of his technical box, up and down the line. You know, ranting at the ref, ranting at the fourth official, everything else. Like at some point, with both of those managers, something needs to be done. I get there's emotions, and I get that, you know, it's heated and it's at the moment and everything else. But the way he went on last night, it just looked like a bit of a dick, in my opinion. And I have a lot of time for him when, you know, and let's remember 6 months ago, Arsenal fans were calling for his head on a block. You know, because they weren't getting the results. Now all of a sudden he's got them top of the league. But that doesn't excuse behavior like that. And it should have been controlled by the ref and by the fourth official, that, you know, the man is outside the box. So, look, it's not a good look. I don't think it does him any favours. And, you know, to be fair, I can understand why maybe Eddie kind of gave a little bit back, and I've no problem with that either. So, yeah, look, just he looks stupid, you know, and he is better than that. I have a lot of time for him as a manager. I think he's okay. But that wasn't good last night for me.
Pete, anything you want to say? Nah.
I thought Arteta was a clown. Absolute clown. Embarrassing. Honestly, really, really embarrassing. I, on away days, talk really positively about Arteta because I think as a manager and how he's changed around their club, I've been really, really impressed with him. But this is the side I don't like about managers. and Mark's absolutely right. I really got off Klopp after his, some of his comments and the way he's been going on and targeting not just Newcastle but other teams with certain things. I just think it's poor, really sort of poor, embarrassing behaviour. How he reacted there, particularly with those penalty shouts, or particularly the second one, the way he was going on, I just thought it was embarrassing. It literally, and I think Alan Shearer talked about it quite right.
Shearer tore into him.
Yeah, he was absolutely right in what he said, and that something should be done. Something should be done about this, because you've got managers like Klopp and Arteta that are trying to influence different referees' VAR decisions by how they react. And what he's doing, he's getting his players to do the same. Like, I talked about it and I was saying, why not join the other big clubs that try and do that try and influence the ref, get around them and do that. We don't do that. Trippier, you saw last night, was pushing players away. He deals with it. He's the captain. He takes charge. I like that.
Point of contact,
Yeah, I like that. I love that, because you know what? That builds up a good relationship with the referee that actually may well fall into our favour. When you've got players around and you're all kind of standing over him, I don't like that. I think it's a bullying tactic. Arteta doesn't need to do that. He doesn't need to do that at all. And what I liked about Eddie Howe, because a lot of people have said that Eddie Howe, and Sky mentioned it about Eddie Howe getting involved. Eddie Howe didn't get involved. Eddie Howe, because I've watched it back a few times, and you can read Eddie Howe's lips, and he's literally saying, Mikel, calm down. He's literally saying, calm down. They are looking at it. And what then happens is Arteta's so irate, he starts throwing slangs at him. And then Eddie Howe says, Mikel, why are you doing this? Because they clearly have a good relationship. They've talked about each other very positively. So they clearly get on. But it goes back to the point, just like Klopp, right? This is where Pep's different, in my opinion. Just like Klopp, Arteta's doing exactly the same. Is that it's all right if you're okay. You're okay. You're a friend of mine, unless you're trying to beat me. And then he doesn't like it. So Arteta he likes the fact that Eddie Howe's a good manager and that he gets on with him to a point. But when you're stopping me from winning, I don't like you anymore. And he's causing this. He was trying to drum up some sort of negativity towards Eddie Howe to try and drum up this atmosphere and trying to create something. And Eddie Howe's not beating to that drum. Eddie Howe's built differently in how he manages situations. And he actually made his response to the way he dealt with everything about that. I thought Eddie Howe dealt with it perfectly and actually made Mikel Arteta look even more stupid, to the point where the game finishes, Mikel Arteta comes up and shakes his hand. He knows that what he was trying to do. And when the game's done, he kind of switches off and thinks everything's okay. Eddie Howe won't forget that. But he embarrassed himself last night. And you know what? It showed him in a real bad light for the first time, in my opinion. I've seen Arteta do that.
But just one thing you mentioned there, Pete, and it's not on the topic we talk about, but it's just trivia. And I love the way he operates. He pushes everyone else away. I'll talk to the referee. He's a single point of contact, and then I think it works to his advantage as well. He kind of nearly talks referees out of giving him a card at stages as well, because he has a good rapport with referees. Now that doesn't count for anything when it's actually a bad tackle or whatever, but it's just a breath of fresh air, really, and have someone of that quality and temperament to control everything.
Yeah, that's a good point from Steve.
Yeah,
exactly, that pressure point. Which if he's getting that pressure now at 16 games, when he's into April and May and there's only 3 or 4 games left and City are burning down their backside, he's going to struggle if he's already cracking there now.
Yeah, and Gary Neville said the same before the match. It's different though. Normally this time of year we were over half the games played, but we haven't even reached the halfway stage there now. So if he's feeling the pressure now, it's going to it might crumble for him. And Pep will be right behind him.
Sorry, guys. Just to add to that, there was frustration and there was genuine worry from Arteta and the players after that game. You could tell how disappointed they were, because you look at their next games. I think they've got Man United and then they've got Spurs. Now, they're tough games. I think they've got another big team after that as well. Yeah. They saw Newcastle as the most winnable game of the lot, and we proved that we're not just going to roll over and just allow you, like we have in the past, to just take points off us. And now they're going into those games dejected, loss of confidence because they've not got their own way. And actually, what we've shown, and I said this earlier on the show, we've now shown the other teams in the Premier League a way of stopping the likes of Saka, Odegaard, and Martinelli. So I think there was a little bit of genuine worry there, because they've got nobody. We've not even talked about the fact that Arteta didn't even he brought on a right back. That's the only sub that he made.
He didn't bring nothing else on to change it.
They signed Fabio Vieira from Porto, who we had a tentative link with in the summer. We touched on it in the fully loaded transfer show. They signed him for the best part of 34, 35 million. He's played like 4 times. He was on the bench. They didn't even bring him on. They didn't even try to change or do anything different. That for me is a worry. And if I'm one of those players on the bench, I'm thinking my manager doesn't trust me. That could cause problems. So in response to that, we brought Jacob Murphy and Wood on, and we're going, oh my God, what are we doing? 66th minute and we're bringing them on. Like, what's that? But what Eddie Howe's doing, he's going, you know what? I trust you. I trust you in one of our biggest games of the season. Go on and do a job for us. And you know what? They did. And that boosts confidence. Mikel Arteta has done the absolute opposite. With big games to come, that could be massively their downfall.
Right.
Yep. I think the other thing to that, Pete, is that Eddie Howe taught Arteta a lesson last night. Yeah. And he didn't like it. He didn't like being put in his box in his own stadium in front of his own players. He was tactically outwitted.
The Howe masterclass.
The Howe masterclass, exactly.
Radio, let's look at the table and see where we are. Bang, we're up, still in 3rd position. Level on 35 points with Man United. We played a game more than Man United. Arsenal on 44 points. Man City breathing down the necks with the game in hand on 36 points. But yeah, look, there was some good results there as well toward the last round of games as well. So that suited us. But yeah, we've no game in the league this weekend. It's FA Cup weekend with Sheffield Wednesday on Saturday. But next game for us is Fulham, and Fulham are on a bit of a run actually. If we look down there, they're one of the teams that are on a decent vein form, as are Man United, of course. But any thoughts on the table, lads?
I think we are where we deserve to be. Will we be there, top 4 at the end? I don't know. I said to you guys the other week, I'd take a European spot, top 6. I'd be happy enough. Good cup run. As Pete said in our chat, this weekend, we've got chance over the next while with the Leicester game to get to a first semi-final in a long time. We've got some decent games coming up that we should, in theory, get some points. Arsenal, the lads just put up the last few things there. They've got Man United, they've got Everton away, they've got Spurs. Not easy games. You look at the games that are on there tonight. There's some weird scores. Forest 1 up at Southampton, Leeds 1 up at West Ham, Wolves 1 up at Villa, Palace and Tottenham 0-0. So yeah, you just don't know which way it's going to go. So I think we're there. I think, will we win every game? No, we're halfway through a season, but I think we won't lose that many either if we can keep that defense intact. I think we need to add 1, if not 2, probably players this window to add a bit more quality. I would suspect that we will do. I'm sure we'll talk more on that on tomorrow night's show. But yeah, we are where we deserve to be, lads.
I tell you what, Dad's scrolling down there and just look at the bottom of the league.
Checking West Ham.
Not seeing Newcastle United down there is an absolute dream. And you know what? Wow. West Ham 19th in the table. I might just send a quick message to Dan Lawless just to remind him that they're down there right now, just to remind him where they are. But actually,
I think he knows.
They've had some sad news today, so maybe I'll let off him.
Yeah.
Everton in 18th place. I tell you what, I looked at a stat today. I think they've won 1 game in 11. 1 game in 11 they've won. I think they are now Frank Lampard has them in a worse position now than what he had them when he first signed as manager of the club. I think they were in 16th place, and he's been there nearly a year. What does that tell you about the manager in that club? It's unbelievable, and I'm loving it. I've got to be honest. I'm loving every second of this.
And Pete, just put in there. No, you're right. I think I saw the same clip where they said that they're in the same spot. But they're even dropped further down now. But Kevin Campbell, when he was on to there on the way days the other night, he didn't think they needed much. There was much wrong with Everton, but I think he needs to take another look because they're sinking fast.
You got to remember, Daz, he's the next Everton player. He's the next Everton striker, so he's not going to talk too negatively about Everton. He's always going to keep that element of positivity. So yeah, it is what it is. But look, they are sinking fast. I mean, it's mad that Everton have come out today and said that they're backing Frank Lampard. That just says to me that they can't afford to sack him. It says to me that they need the money to be able to sign players and not sack the manager. But that's great for me, because as long as Frank Lampard's in charge of Everton, they will be in a relegation battle. I think we said it a year ago. He is not a good manager. Nothing in the last year has changed my mind on that. Nothing at all.
Of course, though, for us, you don't care what's happening down the bottom of the table, because our focus is and forevermore will be in the top half of the table and the very top echelons of the table. So and for me, Martin, I know you're saying top 6, and I said I'd be happy with top 8 at the start of the season, but I also hear a bit of the music, it comes to me. Where is it?
Music to my ears, literally.
Well, that's for next season. Hopefully, we've got to look forward to next season. We should definitely have European football. Yeah,
the one thing that Dan Potts said to me, Daz, he messaged me after the game. The one thing he said to me was that he said, "You guys are definitely getting Champions League football." That's what he said. He said from what he saw last night and the way that we played, and I take that as a compliment. Obviously, he wasn't best pleased in the way that we played, but I think he can see that we're not a pushover team like we've already talked about. And you already put I think you already put a stat up there about the top 6. What Alex Hurst mentioned with regards to the table. What I'll say to you is that you've also got Fulham that we've played away, Brighton that we've played away. Okay, so it goes beyond that traditional top 6 that we've played away from home. The majority of that top 10 in the Premier League, we've played away from home. You look at that, you've got Brighton, you've got Fulham we've played away, Liverpool, Tottenham, Man United, Arsenal. The only ones who haven't played away from home is Man City,
and City
all the way down, and Brentford. We've already beat Brentford, we've already beat Chelsea, we drew in Man City. So
Chelsea away, City away, I think are the only two out of the big out of that top 6-7 that we have to play away. We played everybody else.
Yeah. We're in a great position, guys. Honestly, that is a huge point, but we're in such a great position right now.
I'm going to go to some of Chris's stats as well. He's not here to represent Carvery Chris, but Newcastle have conceded fewer Premier League goals in 22-23 season than they did in December last season. Interesting that one. That's from Duncan Alexander, and the other one that was up on Sky as well. Chris took a little picture of it. Most points in for Newcastle ever. Yeah, so that's some stat there as well in the calendar year. Yeah, with 36 games, 2 points average. Very good. Nice one. That was it. That was it from my pictures and stuff like that. can we let people know, Pete, because we've changed a few times on our lineup for a fully loaded transfer show tomorrow. There will be a fully loaded transfer show tomorrow. First of all,
yeah,
we will be back.
I'm waiting to hear back. I've messaged. Things have been trying to be moved around, but I wouldn't just yet, just in case.
Just in case.
But yeah, there will be a show tomorrow, going out around 7:30, around transfers. So make sure you tune in. We're just trying to finalise the guest, but we're not going to tell you. But we've got some fantastic guests lined up for the shows for the next, going into next week as well. So stay tuned. That's all I'm saying.
Stay tuned. Stay subscribed, and if you're not subscribe and hit that like button as well. But
224 in the chat there. Hit those likes, folks, and get subbed if you're not.
Definitely.
Right. Shout out to the sponsors as well. We give a shout out to Shybarns and Simon, who's in the chat there as well. And go check out shybarns.com for the latest that Simon's offering. And then, of course, you can also get the loaded range, the loaded t-shirt and the away days t-shirt, and modeled by Ray, and the hat modeled by Mick, and the other t-shirt modeled by Would I Eat There? There he is, eating, and go check it out. The latest range of hoodies, hats. If you need a hat, you know where to go. This time of year it comes in handy.
Fair play to Mick and the boys up at Concert AFC there the other day with the
range. I'm into that picture up. Yes.
Yeah. So fair play to them. They went up to see Concert play Dunstan, I think it was. And they had the loaded t-shirts and hats and everything else on. So fair play, lads. Fair play to you. Look great.
And they met with Steve as well, who was already in the chat as well. So great to catch up with Steve as well. But that's Shybarns. Then we give a shout out to Russ, and I saw Russ in the chat as well from the Radiator Shed. And Russ, as they put Pete in jail, don't get out that very often. Chance very often with Pete in jail. But there he is. And if you need a radiator or any of your heating needs, contact Russ. He will sort you out. TheRadiatorShed.com. And they also do the installation as well. So check that out. That's another company part of Russ's Empire. We'll say, Russ. And yeah, you're probably better off checking out the website for the latest and greatest from Russ. So go to RadiatorShed.com. And if you see the van knocking around, a loaded mag on the side of it, do this, and you're gonna be from Russ and the crew, so that is our sponsors done. That is it from the show. Of course, we'll also be going on. We'll also put this up on Spotify and iTunes as well for anyone listening, just so people know that goes up there as well. Whenever I get the chance, really. But I try to get it done by the next day. But that's it. We'll leave it there.
That's it. We'll see you tomorrow night.
See you tomorrow night.
We'll be back.
Stay tuned for the time and the guest confirmation. How'd you like that? How you like